right, I think we could start. Good afternoon, counselors, Mr. Council President, and our community. Love it. So I'm Zeta Govan. I'm the chairperson of the Maintenance and Development Committee on the City Council. Today we're here to discuss 658 Berkshire Avenue. Who wants to go first? Please give your name and address. Go ahead, Mr.
First of all, thank you for notice for the report. Councilor Perez is here as well in the meeting. Thank you. Hi, everyone.
I saw you, Councilor Perez. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. My name is John Lavin, professional engineer representing the owner at 658. And I also work for All States Asphalt, which is the new operator of the facility, but I'll get into that in a second. So we're here before you to request an increase, modification to a license that we had there before. It was for an underground storage tank, which we found. And the city council has issued a license there before, and we're looking to modify the license itself. Just to make note up front, we did meet with the Pine Point Neighborhood Committee. That was on October 12th. And we had a full discussion on what was going to be happening at the facility. And they unanimously approved our request. And we received a letter from them of approval. So if I could give you a little background. So the Gleason family, this is where Berkshire, it's on Berkshire Ave, obviously, but it's where Berkshire Asphalt, or the Gleason family, owned and operated an asphalt plant since before the 1960s. And Mike Gleason, who's still working with us, he's the third generation. So what we're trying to do is to make modifications. Since All States Asphalt just took over the operation of the asphalt plant. We don't own the land. So that's why the license will be issued to 658. Obviously, the license gets issued to the land and not the operators. So we took over the operations, and we're looking to install several above ground storage tanks, hence the increase of capacity to store liquids. And what's been driven too by, besides making modifications, improvements, efficiencies, is also with the quantities is with this working for the state and the city too. There's various specifications that are required for liquid asphalt. Now, liquid asphalt, if you're not aware of what liquid asphalt is, I'm sure Captain Martin is. It's a gooey substance. It's delivered to the site via truck, and it's heated from the terminal into the tanks. And the first time it really cools after it's mixed with sand and stone is the first time it cools is when it goes down on the roadway and they compact it. So it stays in a liquid state, and it's like taffy. It'll solidify if you don't heat it, and it's in a liquid form if you do heat it. The storage tanks themselves, the way the operation's set up, and we're going to keep the same operation, no changes. We're just modifying the plant. We do have several building department applications in for some modifications to our asphalt plant and a few other improvements we're doing. So it will be located around 200 feet off the tanks that we're looking to install, and the plant is located about 250 feet from Berkshire Ave. So the way it currently is you really don't see much from passersby, and that will stay the same. I know that was a neighborhood concern, and obviously we want to work with the neighborhood and the city council to make sure we fill their needs too, as long as ours. So there's also a maintenance garage located on the property, and that stores the propane, acetylene, argon gases, and such. So just so I can mention the quantities which was attached to the license application. The quantities we're looking for on the license is to store 80,000 gallons of liquid asphalt, 40,000 gallons of diesel number 2 fuel, 1,300 gallons of motor oil lubricants, which is used in the garage for various reasons, also heavy equipment and such. And then we have solvents, which is really a parts cleaner. Any garage has a parts cleaner. And then we have propane, oxygen, acetylene, and argon, which is used for welding and cutting. So those will be stored in cylinders. And just a note on the tanks. So the tanks that are looking to be installed, we first got to get this license for increase to be in order to move further on the permitting process. Once we receive the license, we'll be submitting applications to the State Fire Marshal's office. And we'll be talking with Captain Martin too, because he would be required to sign that application before it goes to the State Fire Marshal's office. And there's a few other tanks, and any tanks that are there would need to be required to be signed off by Captain Martin and the State Fire Marshal office. Anything above 10,000 gallon tank, I should mention. So also just there also are requirements as far as inspections on these tanks, and also containment. I'll talk about containment first. So it needs 110, every tank, above ground tank needs 110% containment. In the liquid asphalt tanks, we'll have that containment. And then also the diesel fuel or number 2 fuel, we'll have a double walled above ground tank. So there will be containment. There's also the regulatory requirements, which besides the fire department and the State Fire Marshal's office, we also have the EPA has requirements where you have to have it's called the SPCC plan, Spill Prevention Control and Countermeasure Plan. And that's required by each facility that has over 1,400 gallons of above ground storage. And what that plan does, it basically says who, what, where, when. It's like, what do you have stored? Who's responsible for it? And then what do you do in case of an emergency? And knock on wood, hopefully we would never have one of those. The tanks will all be labeled to NFPA requirements. And I think that's it. It's pretty straightforward what we're trying to do. Get the license, make some improvements to the plant, and more storage because of different products required, and still continue to operate in compliance.
Okay, thank you so much for that report. And does anyone else have any input, or counselors have any questions? Thank you so much for joining us, Councilor Perez. So you just said you did go to the Pine Point Neighborhood Council, correct?
Yes, we forward that
I
letter
got the letter. There it is. Yeah.
to Susan, and
Okay.
after the city council meeting, we didn't know when we initially went, we weren't aware, because we were directed to go directly to Pine Point. Do not pass go unless you pass Pine Point.
Right. Yeah, that's usually what happens. We
Yeah.
send you to the neighborhood council in that area, and then because they could reach out to the neighbors and see if anyone has any. So that's great.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for doing that.
Yes.
Okay, so and I hate to ask this because I'm hoping it will never happen, but what kind of emergency could potentially happen?
The only things you could have is really spills. So, and let me just, and I'm sure, and with liquid asphalt, as far as the gallons, it's the only thing that would happen there. There's never been a liquid asphalt fire in the tanks. Well, it doesn't say it's been very safe, and if anything happens, the release, it'll be contained. And the only other thing is on the diesel fuel is if it somehow got out, but it has secondary containment. Everything's, and that's by design. That's by the state, local, state, and federal regulations.
Okay.
And like
great.
John mentioned before, that just the nature of liquid asphalt is hard at ambient temperature, which is why our roads and sidewalks are not liquid, right? So we have to heat it to keep it, you know, in a liquid state in the tank. So fortunately, if there ever is a positive from a liquid asphalt spill, is that when it leaves the tank, it's just cooling and hardening. It's not going to run away from the site or deeply penetrate through the soil. It essentially turns into a road or a sidewalk, and we have procedures to clean it up. It's a much easier product to clean up than many other things stored in above ground storage tanks. So just that is one positive about storing liquid asphalt.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you so much. Councilor Letterman, question, comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And first, thank you to the petitioner for promptly acting following the last meeting. Certainly, we'll make sure that we promptly act on our end as well to get the petition back on for a vote. I just wanted to get a little more clarity on the actual project. So starting from the beginning, what's the current operations at the site?
So the current operations is it's a hot mix asphalt batch plant, meaning, so I always describe a hot mix asphalt batch plant as it's a weight machine. So what they do is we got a plant there that will take in sand, and it has to be, there's specifications on different formulas. So there's X amount of pounds of sand, X amount of pounds of stone, and that is put into a hopper above the truck, and then liquid asphalt's injected into it and mixed and then dropped into a truck. Well, that might happen a couple times into a truck. And then from that truck, it leaves to go off to the job site. The only other operation we have there is we have a maintenance garage. It's for light maintenance. You know, we have one loader there and well, we got to pick 10 wheelers too. So it's really for changing the oils and things like that. And at times too, we have a crushing. What we bring back in is it's called RAP, recycled asphalt product, and we crush it and we recycle it back into a product or to a customer who wants to put it down for a base. That's pretty much the operations there. And if you have further question, I can clarify it further if you need.
How long has the operation there been active?
It's been since 1960, or probably before 1960. It's the third generation, and that plant's been there since 1960-ish.
So what is actually changing from what you're doing right now?
So when we All States Asphalt came in to purchase the property, we haven't purchased the land yet, but so what's changed is we're going to be doing state work. So the current facility, the way it was, they didn't do any state specification work. So we need, first of all, upgrade the tanks there, and then we need to have different types of tanks for different flavors. I call it flavors of liquid asphalt. That's why we need the various amounts, and that's why the storage.
So you're increasing capacity essentially.
Yes.
Of the raw materials.
Of the liquid asphalt storage.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Keep going. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead, John.
No, I'm not. I'm all set. What was you?
I was just going to mention the secondary benefit is, you know, the equipment that would be introduced is all modernized, you know, compared to some of the existing there. So in terms of, you know, lowering carbon impacts, greenhouse, you know, more green friendly, this stuff is more modernized as well. It's 2022 technology versus 1950s technology. Not that what's there isn't suitable, but you know, the newer stuff is got better insulation and all those sorts of things. So it's a lot more efficient as well. So kind of carbon impacts are reduced too. So it's kind of a environmentally benefit in some way as a secondary benefit.
What will be on site now that is not currently on site?
Two additional tanks or 3 additional tanks is really what it is. And that would be with the same operation. So they're just
all for liquid asphalt.
No, there was all liquid asphalt And then an additional tank for diesel or diesel fuel for.
Do
Go ahead.
you have diesel on site now?
Yes, we do. So there's two things with the plant. We need, it's there to fill the loaders and trucks, but also we need to increase capacity because currently we want to have a backup to the asphalt plant as far as the fuel that runs the plant. You need fuel to run the plant. You have fuel meaning natural gas or number 2 oil. Currently we have natural gas fueling the plant, but we're looking for a backup. So this is just for the license, and it's just, it would give us the flexibility to install those tanks for the backup.
What state regulatory agencies are involved in the licensing?
The license, well, first of all, the license is issued by the commander of a town or city, which is the city council. And then that's for the license itself. And I'm sure with review by Captain Martin to represent you. And then once it goes forward and we get the license and we're going to install a tank or modify a tank or replace a tank, we need to go in front of this. We need to provide an application to the Massachusetts State Fire. And as I mentioned before, that we'll put that application together, every other requirements they ask, and before it's submitted, Captain Martin will have to, or somebody in the fire department will have to sign off on that application before it goes to the state. Then the state will issue a construction permit, and then we build the tanks. And then prior to putting the tanks in use, there will be an inspection by the state fire marshal office. And they also typically invite the fire department to accompany them on the inspection. And once the inspection is done, and they're looking for making sure everything's in regulatory compliance, from containment to piping to things like that. And then once they approve that, we'll receive a use permit. So now, in saying that, so now we have everything built. Now the additional continuing requirements are the state fire marshal office requires inspections, documented inspections to make sure everything's operating properly. And then also on top of that is the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, has a requirement to have a spill prevention plan just in case anything happened, and that needs to be stamped by a professional engineer.
So that's on your storage, this particular license, but what about other aspects of your operation? Does DEP regulate those?
Oh, no, DEP doesn't regulate storage tanks. Now, if it ever escaped the tank, that's when DEP comes into play. They would do that. You don't have any emissions. You don't have any emissions associated with the operation. I was just going to get to the next permit we do have in hand is an air emission permit. I just wanted to address the fire. Those are really the permits we got, and that's a major permit. I mean, you need one of those to operate a hot mix asphalt plant.
Yeah. So you hold the air permit already.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Last question I just had was for Captain Martin, if he wanted to
Sure.
just address the committee on any aspects relative to the fire department.
So as of right now, the way it sits, everything looks good. I reviewed the plans that he did submit so far, and we have no objections to anything that's going to be installed.
All right. Thank you all very much. Madam Chair, thanks for the discretion.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Excellent. Well, if there aren't any other questions, I want to thank you for coming to our meeting, enlightening us with the information. It looks like you're ready to go. Hopefully you'll get on the agenda for an upcoming council meeting soon, and then you can continue doing business in our city. And we appreciate that
it.
too.
We appreciate doing business there.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
All right.
if you could take a vote to refer it back to the full council, I will put it on the November 14th agenda.
Perfect. Who else is on my committee? Is there a motion, or I think I'm the only one here from my committee.
So I will entertain a motion to send it back to the full council.
Are you making a motion, Maria?
Yeah, I
Councilor
said I
Perez?
entertained the, yes, I did. I said I
Perfect.
entertained the motion to send it back to the full council.
So I guess I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you so much. So motion passed. So hope you'll be on the next city council meeting, which is 14th, correct, Council President?
Yes, November 14th. And Madam Chair, can you I'll make sure, but just send send an email to the staff letting them know about the vote.
I'll do that. Great. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
If there's no
Thank
other
you.
business before this committee, motion to close.
So moved.
All right, motion passed. You guys have a good day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.